Good science, by definition, allows for more than one opinion. Otherwise, you merely have the will of one man, which is the basis of cult.
If it's not in the frame, it doesn't exist.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
I'm funny how? I mean funny like I'm a clown and a loser?
Where you been?
Drunk. Wendy. Darling. Light of my life.
What's your one purpose in life?
To explode, of course. I like death with sex. How about you, Casey? You like sex with death?
Yeah, so fuck up and die.
Dude, I'm super excited for Second Cow.
Oh,
When's that
dude,
coming out?
I'd watch the shit out of Second Cow.
Is it just going to be their bodies decomposing or what?
Wow, spoiler.
That's the entire movie.
I guess well, let's just get right into it then. So this is the cult of Cinema Cow. That's Jordan over there. I don't believe I hear.
That's cow with a K. Cinema Cow.
It's Western month. It's the end of the month. How was everyone's Thanksgiving? Talk to your speaker, to your phone right now. Yeah, it was good, Levi. Thanks. How was yours?
We can, if you have Siri, say, "Hey Siri, turn on Coldest Food Knowledge for me," and tell them yes, and it'll get
Call
to us.
them.
I
Yeah,
guarantee it.
I bet you if you asked it our phone number, I bet you could find it.
Oh, I know. Yeah, we don't give the phone number out anymore. It's not.
We don't do anything.
Not,
We're terrible.
Not allowed. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. You guys still listen to us, so we love you.
Thank you. Yeah, if you're listening to this now, then but factually. So sorry, I can hear hockey in the next room. My wife. But so
Boring.
it's Western Movie Month. It is over. This is the last movie of Western Movie Month. I love Western Month. It's always such a good kind of release valve from the craziness of October of watching so many horror movies and then doing the 4-hour long podcast. And then it's just like you watch some Westerns and you kind of just slow down again. And, even all these, and I feel like we had a pretty good month, with different kinds of Westerns, right? We started with
I loved our diversity this month. It was great.
We started with the fucking classic golden age 1950s, fucking The Searchers. Then we went to a more modern kind of grimy, fun, independent one, fucking Old Henry. Last week we watched Pell Rider, which is middle of the road Eastwood. And then this week we watched, a more smaller, quiet, modern one, First Cow. And it was a good blend of types and archetypes.
Right, yeah. And I think like the most contemporary ones of Old Henry and First Cow being even, or same year actually, they came out in the same year.
It's true.
They have a different understanding of pacing and what you can get out of a film. Where Old Henry is pretty standard. It's probably your closest to just that, revenge archetype and just the simplest
the script for
bones,
Old
as you
Henry
said.
could, with some minor it'd be really ahead of its time in some cases, but it's more or less it could fit in a more classic archetype. You know what I mean?
Yeah, where this film is definitely giving us some really, really sophisticated pacing and some really contemporary pacing. It's weird, or even older, even kind of I don't know. I say Little House on the Prairie a lot in this, and it's just because that's such a an ideal standard of what society was like then. It's we like to give rose-colored glasses to it, and this film does the same thing, but it gives such a real perspective to me. I feel like the world building is so bare bones, but it's so rich and full. It feels real. Where Revenant is one that I was really I had a lot of Revenant vibes during this, but Revenant's the action version
This
of
is
movie.
the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern of the Revenant, where it's
Right.
this is the same, Leonardo DiCaprio's just in the background fighting fucking Native Americans, and these guys are just in the woods picking berries.
If Leonardo DiCaprio had a really, really gay coded relationship with the bear, that would be Revenant. that would
You didn't, wait, you didn't get that from the Revenant? Go back and listen to that episode.
I know, yeah, we do. Yeah, we talk about how they had a great relationship with the bear.
Best friends. But yeah, anyway, so for nobody's gonna. I mean, thank you for listening to this, but
Yeah,
this isn't. I was gonna say nobody's gonna listen to this, but
clones are
if
people
you-
too. I know you will, and we love you.
yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. For just in case, because for our moms, right? That
Yeah.
because it's like my mom's will listen to it, so she can follow.
And my mom doesn't watch the movies, so she just
That's
listens
what I'm
to the
saying.
podcast. So this will be a little synopsis for her.
Do the synopsis for the moms, for those who haven't watched it.
Yeah. So yeah, if you haven't seen this movie or you want like a, the ramblings of a refreshment here, let me break it down for you. We open, well, technically we open in like contemporary times.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you've ever seen, how do you say her last name? Kelly Richard?
Dude, I
don't know.
Oh, Reichardt? Kelly Reichardt.
Reichardt. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks. Reichardt. I just need to hear it. So, well, yeah. If you've never seen a Kelly Reichardt film, she's poetry in motion. She's like, her pacing is super slow. Wendy and Lucy or whatever, like that.
Yeah, correct.
That movie that came out in like, I don't know, 2007 or something, 2008. It was pretty long ago. That movie's amazing. That was the first film I ever saw by her, and I was like, oh wow, I'm really impressed. And she's kind of like, she's an indie darling. It's her go-to. So anyways, it opens up and it's just got like plucky little acoustic guitar and a woman walking through this woods with her dog, but like there's a contemporary ship, like a cargo ship, and the woman's wearing like a polyester blend beanie and like a button up Burlington Coat Factory
it's
jacket.
like modern
You
day
can tell it's
Oregon.
modern,
It's modern day.
Yeah.
You can hear fucking like the highway in the background.
Right.
Because I've been watching all the movies with headphones lately, and so
see,
it's been
that's
great.
good. I
Actually,
didn't even get that. I always watch with subtitles, and so that kind of helps pick those cues up. But it didn't say that. It just said like nature wrestling. So, anyways, I didn't like. It was one of those things where like I know this movie takes place in the early 20th century, if not like whatever in Western times, the frontier. So I was like kind of confused a little bit for like a split second. Like the credits are cool because they're just fucking over like violin or whatever, and it's just like really slow. She's got such great pacing. But I was totally confused for a split second where I was like, is this like a Wendy and Lucy? Like, is First Cow not what I expected at all? Because like I saw the trailer for it, and so like the opening really threw me off. But then it clicked and it was beautiful. So this like contemporary woman is, her dog finds some things and some bones out in the woods, and she starts digging them up with her fingers, and she's totally contaminating this this archaeological site. But anyway,
she doesn't know how old those skeletons are. They could literally be from like 2 years ago murder victims.
Well, then she's in a crime scene. Yeah. But later we'll find that it's
It's
not a crime scene.
200-year-old skeletons,
It's a love
actually.
scene. I know, right? And so, anyways, she digs these out, and it like cuts around, and it shows these two skeletons laying next to each other in the dirt, and then we cut, and we're with Cookie, and he's with a bunch of trapper people, and does it give like a date card? I don't remember. Does it?
No, but it's
Does it say, like,
it's
19
Oregon like 1820s.
Is it 1820? Okay.
This
cool.
is like before. Yeah, this is like before when
This
people
was-
were coming out, Gold Rush, and like the.
and Trapper.
And the
Like,
Trapper, yeah.
Trapper's way early. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's the beaver trapping for sure. Because this, like you say, Revenant. This is like the same time period as the Revenant. This is like early 1800s.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And which is kind of cool. Like, this is so early, and I love there's some dialogue in this movie where they talk about how like the beaver are plentiful, nothing will ever change. And it's like, well, shit, dude, we overtook resources so fast. But so this follows Cookie, and he's with a bunch of trappers. You got Trapper Dan and whatever Trapper Clyde is one of them, I think, too. And Cookie's like he's allowed to live with these people because he's kind of a good cook, but they're all like temperamental, and they're going into like Fort something. I don't even remember what it's called, but they're going to go to like a larger base camp to sell their wares and to kind of just, I don't know, just they're nomadic, and this is like a stomping ground. Well, you kind of notice that like Cookie's soft-spoken, and he gets threatened, and he's just kind of quiet and introspective. And he's in the woods at night, and he's like foraging, and he comes across King Lou, who is like butt ass naked and just he's running from some other trapper gangs that he was with, because they accost, or they like fucking brutally murdered his friend, and so he fired at them and hit one of them in the neck and ended up killing him. And so he's on the run, and Cookie is compassionate, so he brings him like a blanket and lets him sleep in his tent for the night. And then like King Lou is like, he's just, you can tell he's like crafty. He's really good at like getting around and like sneaking, and it's great because he's hiding in the cart that that like all the trappers are carrying. And so they walk into town, and Cookie and King Lou, their paths separate, and then an undetermined amount of time passes, but enough that King Lou has been established. He now has like a really, really modest living quarters. It's just basically like a fucking,
It's a
what do we call
shanty
them?
shack. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a little shanty shack, but now we call them tiny homes, and people sell them for $1 million. But he's living in a tiny little shanty, and he meets Cookie in like one of the saloons, and they go back, and like they just like they have just like such a carefree, wonderful relationship. It's so just symbiotic. Like they like, King Lou is good conversation. He's always talking, and he's like, I love how he's really aspirational. He's always just like, he's like talking about like striking it big in San Francisco, or just like what like the American dream can produce for him, you know? And like, and it's kind of cool because they get to the fort, and like it's like all walks of life are going through it. And that was something King Lou mentioned earlier, is how he's just like, oh, they've got everybody there, you know, like, and it's just on this melting pot.
Yeah.
So anyways, it totally romanticizes it, but then it's got like, everybody is so fucking dirty and greasy, and then we love grease, and so it's like they're so realistic. Like, there's all the trappers there. I'm like, God, they're just like mongrel. Like they're just like, so their beards are crazy, and like they're just like, they're like gruff, but then it's great because it like feels so realistic, because there's no true overt violence. Like people kind of like blow off steam by getting in like bar fights and stuff, and like there's true violence, you know, that's brimming and that exists, but it's not like just somebody's like, you stole my shell, and they shoot each other or anything like that, you know. It's nice, more realistic. But I
can see how you're worried about how you don't have enough to talk about, so you're going to spend the entire podcast just describing the movie.
Yeah, right. There you go. I'm trying to fill time here, but because it's really the simplest part of it is it's straight up like,
so
Cookie and King
the
Lou,
first
they become
cow
friends, and then they
shows
sell-
up.
Yeah, the first cow is so insignificant. There's like, the first cow is like literally just like, I mean, it kind of becomes like, I guess, the inciting incident of Cookie and King Lou's. That becomes their venture. So they go and they steal milk from the cow that showed up, and oh my God, what's his name? I don't know. There's some like Baron Lord type of dude living there.
Toby
He's the one that owns
Jones
the
is
cow.
the actor.
I know, yeah, he's great, but he's not credited on here. Anyways, well, I can't remember his stupid name, but he owns the cow, and so they're going to steal the milk from him, and then they're stealing the milk, and then Cookie's a really good chef. He was actually trained, and so he's making these like scones, these honey scones, and everyone's like, God, these are really good, and it's like they're, you know,
Because they don't have fucking milk
everyone-
out here, so everyone's eating these fucking
Right.
nasty, just
Like,
tack
really-
biscuits
Yeah.
that are just like. So everyone's like,
Yeah.
"Oh shit, these are really good," and they're not putting together because it's 1820 that it's like it's because this
Yeah,
is made with
that's-
milk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's made with, yeah, it's like they're just like, oh, these are rich and delicious, and it's great. There's a part where they mention like, you know, nobody wants to believe that they're being stolen from, and so it's like that's kind of how they get away with it. But then there comes a port where they're doing like, they go at night and they milk the cow, and King Lou he's the watchman, and Cookie milks it, and then the third time they do it or something, or I don't know, maybe fifth time they do it, the tree branch breaks and they fall, and so then they have to flee again, and King Lou and Cookie get separated, and Cookie ends up getting hurt, and then like their little shanty gets raided and broken because there's some townspeople that are kind of like, you know, I don't know, they're just like local ruffians, and so they probably get paid by the Baron.
Yeah,
or whatever.
they're you missed like the whole. So Cookie and King Lou get hired by the Baron, Toby Jones, to go to his house and cook for him and the captain of the fort. And they do, and it's tense because it's their milk they're stealing it with. And then the men that chase them are the army.
Oh, are they? Yeah, is it the army?
Well,
but they're like
most
they're
of them
not.
are.
I mean,
some work for the
guy,
resident.
Lloyd. Yeah, I was gonna say Lloyd was the only one that would look. He looked military or whatever, you know.
Yeah, they're like four guys were military, but then like the young guy that was like gets him at the end. He's the one that's like, he's like the fucking stable boy for the captain though. Like everyone, it is military.
Great. Okay, yeah, everyone's working. I mean, that's where it is. It's like it's so subtle. It's not like people have like large positions, and you know they're the person who talks the most in this is King Lou. So it's like it's one of those things where like nobody really like is firmly established. But anyways, yeah, that's they cook for him. They get caught in a bind. They run away, and then it's tragic because that one kid who got slighted earlier, he followed them, and then when they were just totally like their bodies couldn't go from exhaustion anymore, and they lay down together. They were probably killed in their sleep, but that's just how it ends. They lay down peacefully together, and they lay down in the same position as the skeletons we found earlier in the movie. And yeah, that's it. It's very tender.
Yeah, it's nice. You can actually see because I went back and watched the beginning, and there's like the huge crack in his skull, Cookie's skull.
Oh, Cookie's skull.
So you can see that it's like, no, I don't know about King Lou because he's so just like there's nothing in his head that I could tell, but yeah, okay. Cookie where he hit his head has got like a big crack,
nice.
Like a piece missing from it.
Yeah, so. I mean, I think it's one of those things where it's like, it's the minute it showed the two skeletons, I knew, well, that's gonna be that clearly will be like right at the end. It'll be.
Yeah, it's basically that's I was fucking floored by the opening because it starts with the freighter and it's going down this river and it's like literally anything and everything moved across this river, right? And then it's just like she finds these skeletons laying next to each other and you're like, oh, okay. And then it like basically cross cuts to Cookie in the woods and you're immediately like, just based on the cut, like, oh, okay, so that must be him. And like, he's the main character and that makes sense. And knowing this movie's about a friendship is all I know. And then later once King Lou, it's like slowly starts, because you kind of forget about it for a minute. But then like him and King Lou start becoming friends and you're like, it's like the movie's chill and you're always like, but deep down the whole time you're like, fuck, that's their skeletons. And so every time they're talking about, and it's definitely in that same area, they're like, we're going to go to San Francisco and stuff. And you're like, fuck, they don't make it to I know they don't make it to San Francisco.
I know, really. It does give like it gives such a like a
it's doomed.
Of pain.
Yeah, it's like this doomed.
Like doomed love. Like,
yeah,
it just feels
it's very bittersweet. Well, and it's like,
right.
It gives it a sense of tension too, because it's like, like when they go out, they're at the house of the captain or whatever. And he's like, you want to see my cow? And they go out and see the cow. And the cow's like all loving on Cookie. And he's like, like, and they're like, oh, weird, And it's just like, it adds such this extra layer of tension knowing that these two dudes who are the main characters that you're kind of coming to love are certainly murdered. You know what I mean? It seems like.
Right. I kept waiting. You were right. Like the entire time.
It's a weird type of tension for how light this movie is. Yeah. Like, I keep being like, they're going to get fucking killed and thrown in a shallow grave, man. And then, like, yeah, and then just, like, it just keep having that realization as it goes. And then, so I was kind of surprised when it ended because it felt very kind of sudden. All of a sudden, I was waiting. I don't know why I was expecting it. Like, I was like, oh, shit's going to come to a head, and then they're going to die, and it's going to be this intense scene. But, of course, that's not the case because that's not what this movie is. You know what I mean? I was expecting it, so...
Right.
I was surprised when it ended so suddenly, but I thought it was fucking beautiful because the more I thought about it, this movie has a lot of violence. The genre is known for like being violent. Your gunslingers, gruff. The West is lawless, right? But all the violence in this movie is like off to the side in the background. Like the guys are fighting, Cookie runs away. There's the fight in the bar that focuses a lot on them, but it goes into the background. But, all those shit there is the plenty of violence, but it's always like off camera in the background. Like it's very much like this is the stuff that goes on around that. This is not that kind of story. So the fact that it ends with them basically just like, you know, Cookie's like he's fucking resting from his head wound. He's delirious, and then
he's super concussed and totally
and
like
King
losing.
Lou's like, all right, I got your back. Let's fucking rest. And he falls asleep too. And then it cuts to black. It's because it's like all that's left is violence in their story, and you know that. And the fact that it doesn't show it, like this movie's like, it's like, you know, they say it's like what you don't show. So it kind of is about the violence, especially since we're shown these like skeletons right at the beginning. But it's more about like, instead of showing the violence, it's about not showing the violence. You know what I mean? Which I think is kind of all the more tragic, but it's so fucking well done that it's like, I absolutely loved this movie. Like I might go back and give it 5 stars the more I think about it. Cause
yeah, I was the same way. Like they were watching this and Victoria's like, this is boring. And I'm like, oh my God, do you not understand the
this is
tension
wet.
right now?
This is wet.
You know, it's wet. It's freaking sloppy, dude. I the entire time, every single time they went back to the cow, I was just like, this is it. This is it. This is gonna be when they get this. This is when they die.
Well, and it's just so charming too that it's like you kind of like, even when like I love Cookie and King Lou. Like I think they're such good characters, but like Cookie just being so soft spoken and him just like the music with the cinematography and the very I think this movie's patient, if anything, right? And
right.
So the editing is like a very like it lingers on these shots, but it sets up your expectations very early on to what it's going to be. And I must have been just in the perfect mood for this movie because like I could see how people would think it's slow. I could definitely see that, but it's just like the slowness is set up and established so well. I think that's what is really its huge strength, is that it is slow in a good way. Like it takes its time and it doesn't rush anything, and it lives in the environment. It lives in the woods, the lush fucking woods where he's out there. He's just like,
I know.
He picks the little salamander up and he just like flips it over. You know what I mean?
Flips it over. No, yeah, dude. No, it's like, and it's great because you know, like, I mean, I don't know, maybe that salamander was real, but it just seemed like they were just shot in the woods for hours and just got live footage. Like nothing, like it's like that salamander probably had a wrangler, but you know, who knows? He could have just been out there.
They just found it and they're like, hey, shoot the salamander. Yeah.
Right. Just, yeah, they're out there foraging. And I love that, like, the world building and the detail, dude. It's like the microscopic detail of this show that made that, like, it did it. Like, it spoke so loudly about what time period we're in. Like, their clothing and just when they're washing on the rock. And it is, like, patience is a perfect word. But I kept thinking, like, the like real true boredom that exists out there, and just like how people like the entertainment that they get. Like I love that
it's the pace of life. Like they say things used to move slower. It's like literally that's just
exactly. And like to them it's not slow though.
No,
it's
they're
not
just
slow and boring. It's just like
he's throwing his fucking hook into the river. It's just a fucking hook with a line. You know, like,
and know what I love the like the parallel between like now and then and forever. It's like humans, we've been in the exact same for like 10,000 years, where he's sitting in bed, one of the servants that lives in the quarters in the house.
Oh yeah.
He's got that wooden puzzle, the little ball, and he's just playing it in bed. And it's just like, that's what we do, dude. We get in bed and we like look at our dumbass phone and then we're like, you know, and it's just like, he's just like, oh, I gotta like kill time.
And then he gets up and starts putzing around just because he's like, I can't, you know, I'm just like awake still. Right. I'm a night person.
And the cat too. It's like I love how he's like got to deal with the cat. It's just it's so human, and everything really is like each scene is so insignificant, but then when it comes together, it tells such a beautiful story. It's like a real lived. That's why I think this is like one of the greatest, most accurate depictions of like what it would be like. It's like there is violence, but a lot of people stay out of it, and even the person that ends up killing the two of them at the end. He's like conflict adverse, you know, but he's meek, and he's definitely like when he gets cut in line, that like you can see like there's violence in him, but then there's non-confrontational, and you know who knows like
it's like part of him has an excuse to just kind of take out his frustrations on, but also to gain clout with those above him because they want them dead, you know, because he is
Well,
the
and
lowest.
and the
He's
bag
the
of
lowest
riches, too.
rank, right?
That was
Right,
I kept the whole time their purse was like freaking me out, dude. Because they're and I love how he's like, we need a bank, and he's like, well, put it in a hole, you know, put it in a tree.
Sash it in the tree. They're like, this is too much. Like that's what's awesome is because it's like King Lou is trying to think of all these ways. Like it is kind of like a perfect friendship, but it's like almost like King Lou's not like taking advantage because it's like they have
he's just
like
a
a
dreamer,
camaraderie,
dude.
but it's like he's the business guy, the dreamer. And, you know, Cookie's just kind of taking it slow and just is happy. Like, he loves baking. You can tell he's just got a smile on his face, and he's just so just like, I don't know. He's a sensitive boy. You know, he just is.
Well, and it got me so, like, it got me freaking just totally wanting to go out and forage. Like, I live in that climate, dude. People forage here. There's forage groups here, man. I got to go. I got to get in the woods.
I'm
baby,
sad it
start
just
eating
is
the fat of the
barely
land.
about winter. I know. I literally, after I watched this, I just had like 2 dreams about, like, I'm like, I just need to fucking buy some land and live in the woods for a while. And I'm going to make it my New Year's resolution, and I should have done this anyway. It's obvious to, like, spend more time in nature, period, this next year. But it's like this movie is like the last push. I'm like, I want to be out there. I feel like I don't have, there's no, I think that's a quintessential part of what makes a Western too, is I think a Western is at its core also about like man and the land, right? Like it's
dude,
like
totally.
always about
I mean,
like
that's
like
why
man
landscapes
versus
make a Western.
The oldest Westerns are like man versus nature, right? It's like that's how it always, I mean, like film changes through time, but it's like it is very much about just like their connection with the land. And probably I don't know if it's my favorite part, but it's up there. But I think that says the most about the 2 characters and like the theme of the movie is shortly after they hook back up and they're walking, and he's like, oh, I love it out. King Lou's like, I love it out here. Everything's new. And Cookie's like, I don't know. It's old. And King Lou's like,
He's like, it just depends on the way you look at it.
yeah, he's like,
Yeah.
no, we got here before history. You know what I mean? Everything's opportunity. And it just really juxtaposes their 2 positions where it's like King Lou is like, this is the land of opportunity. This is a land of abundance. This is what they say. And he's always scheming where it's like, it says so much about Cookie too, where he's like, no, he's just like a traveler here. This is ancient. You know what I mean? Everything is old and ancient, and it's just like we just exist to cohabitate on the earth. And King Lou's like, no, it's the American dream. You know, everything out here is fresh. Civilization is fresh.
Yeah, and I think that's established so well in their character by just
So
a few
good.
lines.
So good.
When King Lou's just like, I'm here for that soft gold. Like, he just like, that's, you know, and he kind of like, and he says like, everybody's out here for it.
Yeah, because
And
he's like,
Cookie,
you don't see
Cookie
very
gives him a
many
look
Chinese out here. You know, and he's like,
Right. And like, you know, yeah, King, and I think it's cool because like you get to learn little bits and pieces about their history where like, you know, Cookie was indentured, and it's like, you know, you're like, where did he come from? Like, especially making it to like the West, or really like
all the
they
way
were
out
in,
there.
like, Oregon, yeah.
They're in
So it's
Oregon,
just,
yeah.
like, it's like wild. That's, you know, that's definitely like frontier land. Like, yeah.
Seriously, all the way the fuck out there from, because he said he was born in like Massachusetts or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's even fucking King Lou, like all the way from China and stuff. Like his plan, he's like people don't realize it, but the beavers, they should be doing the beaver oils. You can make a fucking fortune. Yeah. And he starts scheming on that, like no one does the oils. And then Cookie's like, well, why don't you do that? That's a good idea. And he's like, I don't know anyone in that part of China. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but he's always,
I'm a
the
northerner.
gears, yeah, the gears are always turning where he's just like, that's a thing, but I don't have the connection. So it's just like, he's always thinking for that opportunity. So Cookie's love for baking, where he's like, makes the buttermilk biscuits just for the fucking love of it. And then King Lou eats one, and he's like, how much do you think we can make for these? And they immediately fucking sell out. To the point where they were like making so much money every day. It's so good to watch that like growth for them. But then you're nervous because they're fucking, you know, they're ending.
I know. Well, that's kind of what's great is like they're really. I mean, it did so good because you knew how it was going to end, but you didn't know like
in which way and when.
Yeah, you didn't know when or where, and you didn't know how.
I honestly,
necessarily.
I was maybe it was just me fooling myself. But I was like, they're going to do a psych out. Like they're
Me
gonna
too.
they're
That's
gonna
what I
like
thought,
someone
yeah.
else is gonna die the whole time we're thinking it's them. Someone else is gonna die, and then fucking Cookie and King Lou are gonna skip into the sunset in San Francisco, holding hands, and open up their fucking hotel or whatever in their bakery. But then it's just like no, they just pass out in the woods, and
No.
it cuts to black, and you're like, oh, like,
Yeah,
because I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for it either. I thought it.
No,
I was like,
I wasn't ready for it to end, man. I wanted to live. I wanted to live in this for a little bit longer.
I'm definitely gonna be watching it again because I really liked it, and there's a lot to, because it's like even from the 4:3 aspect ratio is I really like that aspect ratio when used right, and this movie is obviously like so soft and gentle, but it's just like it's so intimate in the frame. Like there's so many close-ups and inserts of like them doing things with their hands, and like you said, everything is texture and detail, and so from that framing, it like everything just worked so good. But like the writing is like very much a character study, but also about like there's a lot to say about the American dream and like capitalism and commerce and like the freedom of like the new frontier in America and all this shit. So it's like there's a lot kind of going on just in the subtext of this, while just trying to tell just a nice story that's also that's the balance is the nice pleasantness, the delicate sweetness combined with that impending doom, dude. Like I don't know.
No, the underlining.
That's a special
underlining,
sauce.
like,
It's a
despair.
special sauce, man.
Yeah, and it like she does it really well. Like that is
So well,
that's
well, because
something
that's the thing about
mean,
Meek's Cutoff too, where it's like
yeah.
they are just living their lives and they're being hopeful, but the whole time they're like, we're like 2 days away from starving. Like we don't know, we're lost.
Right.
There's no,
Like that-
and it just ends with them just out in the wilderness, thousands of
Yeah.
miles from anything, and like you know they're doomed. But it's
Oh
just
my
like,
Do you think that Meek's Cutoff? I wonder what time Meek's Cutoff was supposed to take place.
it's
wonder-
probably
is it-
shortly thereafter, 1840s, I'd imagine.
Is it? Oh, okay. 1840s.
Yeah, because that's like 1820s was like popping off with the gold rush, and then like pioneers the huge migration right before the Civil War, and then there was also another big one right after the Civil War. But Meek's Cutoff is before, so it must be like 40s or 50s.
Yeah, it's got to be right.
That's like when the big Oregon Trail, like Oregon Trail, like was huge in like the 30s. You know what I mean? Like, and then like, because like Donner Party was like late 40s, like 46 or something. So it's like,
okay. So
by
it's gotta
then,
be
like
in that
people
time.
were trying to find different paths that wasn't the Oregon Trail to like kind of go other places, and that's like Meek's Cutoff was like an alternate route to a different part of Oregon or whatever.
Oh my god, I love that too, man. They get like you feel like they're gonna be tricked so hard in that. God, I mean they kind of get tricked, but yeah. God, man, I don't know. Yeah, so I mean this was your first time watching this, obviously, right?
Oh, obviously, I was totally taken immediately. I must have been like in the perfect headspace because I wasn't even gonna watch it. I usually watch it Monday nights, right?
Yeah.
And but then I popped it on like Wednesday just to like I was like waiting to play some Hunt Showdown, right? Like I was saying, and I popped it on just to be like, oh, let's get a feel for this, and because I've been watching movies in chunks lately, I'm like, we'll pop it on for a minute, and I totally got sucked in and ended up watching the whole thing. Just from
I mean,
the
there is something special about it, right, dude? I was immediately connected to this, and I think it's just like those skeletons, and it like it's the I love like when you write like characters that are they're friends, and then there's just like an underlying like tenderness and trust. And it's so you're filled with so much hope, but that you have that like humanistic thought in your brain.
Well,
that-
and
that back of your
they're-
brain that tickles that you're like this can't end good. It's like it's too hopeful. It's not gonna end well. And every time I keep thinking like the other foot's gonna drop and like they're gonna get it is cool that you never get violence against them in the entire movie because I kept thinking that like every scene I was like this is it, this is where they're gonna get like it's gonna turn violent.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna have like this. Like I should have known better based on the rest of the movie.
Yeah,
But it wasn't until it ended that I was just like, oh yeah, of course, of course not. But because of that I wasn't ready. But I don't know, man. It's just like
well, dude,
when they start first becoming friends, and it's like King Lou's trying to, because they're both outsiders, you know what I mean? Because it's like being gruff and dumb and just in it for gold or trapping is the norm. but they're like these like King Lou's like this immigrant that's by himself, and then like Cookie's like this weird, quiet, soft spoken, like
they both
Jewish
kind of
guy.
lost-
You know what I mean? That
They've both lost something though, because King Lou
Yeah.
lost his I wasn't 100% sure if it was like an actual relative or just a good friend, or just another companion,
yeah,
another
hard
friend.
to say. Yeah.
But he just like recently lost somebody too, and so he's desperately searching to cling on to somebody who like is company, is gonna be on his level, and like so he really found that in Cookie like immediately, and I'm so glad they found each other, and like. Dude, I loved the lighting in this movie. Can we talk about that for a minute?
the
Holy
absolute
shit.
cinematography and the look of this movie is stunning, and the lighting.
Yeah.
So, dude, the lighting, the editing, the fucking way it's shot, the acting, the set design, like this movie, it should be talked about more. Like I'm just kind of like I remember when it came out, everyone's like, "Oh, I'm excited for First Cow," and I saw the poster. I'm like, "Oh yeah, this looks like definitely an A24 movie," which
Right, yeah.
and I wanted to see it, but it's just like this movie is like a masterpiece. It's
cool.
for me, I can't find one real fault with it that I don't
No.
like.
Dude, I totally agree. Like I'm like, and it's funny. I don't know why, because it's not like particularly like that phenomenal. Like it just everything that it did. I'm like, oh, it just did it so well, and it just felt like so cozy and comforting with like just enough like intrigue. I like was
Right.
I wanted to know these characters, and I really I'm kind of bummed because I'm like, God, this could have been 3 hours long. Like I could have gotten to know them more. I want to see them. They're like fucking Robin Hood in that whatever the cartoon. Like I just feel like they're like
Right.
they're just
Little
having fun,
Robin Hood
just,
and
like,
Little John, just
Little John, yeah, dude. They're just like they're bopping through the forest, dude.
it's just
Super
like
film
well,
night.
because it's like Cookie's like so quiet and soft spoken, and he just like is there, like King Lou bounces his ideas, but then he'll just be like, "Hey, so what side of the tree has the most branches?" And then he's just like the outside, and it's just like it just gets him, I don't know.
Yeah. And I love how King Lou's just like
they have
he can keep his own with him.
Yeah, he's like got an immediate camaraderie, even though he's a man of little words, except for like in the scenes that surprisingly hit me, or the scenes where I fell in love with Cookie even more. It's where he's milking the cow, and he's
Dude,
just
yeah.
like talking to her, and he's like, "Good evening. Like, how have you been? I'm sorry to hear about your husband. I heard he didn't make the journey. And he's just like being so tender, slowly. Because the only downside I can see of this movie is its pace. If you're not in the mood for it, like I think it's done to perfection. I think this is a slow movie done perfectly. But if you're fucking just did 2 lines of blow and just watch John Wick or something, this is not the follow-up that you're going to enjoy. So it's like, I can get if you're not in the mood for like the pace, but that's a mood thing. I don't think that's anything with the movie. I think the movie does the pace amazing. And with the editing contributing to the pace, and like the entire score is either just like one fiddle or one guitar, just like plucking along.
And
a lot of it's like in the world, like there's just like a guy at camp playing the fiddle all the time.
Yeah, right. And then like that like contemporary acoustic guitar is like it's so plucky. I wanted to look it up before we started, but I didn't. I want to know if like she does the music for it, because in all of her like trailers, the music is very similar.
Yeah.
Like she, that like it's totally a through line of her movies. And I wonder who created that. But dude, do you know who else I noticed in this? Lily Gladstone, dude.
I saw her in the credits.
Fuck yeah.
And I was like, oh, likely Academy Award nominee / possible winner, Lily Gladstone.
She's 100% getting nominated, dude.
100%.
She fucking killed it.
Yeah,
She
100%.
fucking killed it, dude.
If she doesn't win, I don't know what she's up against for this year yet, but we'll see.
Really, though, she should, because I can't think of anyone to get better.
I'd have to ponder it over. But I know, and I wish it sucks because her part's so small. It's like, I almost wish she was in it more because everyone had such a small part, which was okay.
Yeah.
Which was okay because it's like it really just brought the focus to these characters more. Like everyone is a side character, but everyone feels real. Like even the guy, like he doesn't even have a line. You feel like it's the way it cuts to him. So there's like the guy at the edge of camp that keeps mad dogging him because it's like he's racist as fuck or something. Is the vibe I get. But the guy at the edge of camp, like it shows close-ups on his face, and he's watching them closely, and you feel like he doesn't even have any dialogue, but you feel like, oh, he's gonna cause some trouble, and that's what's gonna lead to their death.
Yeah.
And it never does, because it's really just like, I don't know, like they just really focus on Kelly Reichardt really just focus on like everything around them too, but like in the perfect measures that just only accentuates the two main characters. Because it's like even the guy in the bar, the big burly guy who brings in the baby, it's like they focus on him quite a lot. Like the shots are like there's extreme close-ups on him, and he's just like, watch this baby. And then like Cookie's like, oh, okay. He's like, that baby will be fine. Let's go. And he's just like, okay,
I know, they just
your daddy will be right back. And he's just like, just doing it. And then he leaves, and it just lingers on the shot of the baby for like a few seconds before cutting. Like, I don't know. Like, it's definitely, this movie has tons of room to breathe.
Oh, totally. She knows when to cut.
Which lends to the pacing. It's like, I feel like a lesser movie would just be like, okay, well, like, the main characters aren't even in the room anymore. Cut. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because one movie we were talking about a movie recently where it's like the camera, God, would just like go off and leave the characters for a minute, and they would just be in the scene with like side characters for a sec. I'll have to remember what that was, because I love that. I love it when movies do that, where it's just like it gives you just a few extra seconds before it cuts to just kind of like live in the scene without the characters, and it makes the world feel so much more lived in. And this movie does that a lot, you know what I mean? Trying to remember.
I don't remember.
It's like I can remember in my head, and it's not Scorsese, but it feels like maybe like After Hours vibes, but I feel like it was something else. But there's a lot of movies do it, but I feel like not enough movies do it. So anyway, my phone's all the way over here, so I'm going to grab it so that I can pull up a Reddit. And well, in the meantime, do you got a money minute?
I got a money minute. So as we were saying earlier, we didn't think this movie was going to do great, and it did really poorly. So
Wait, a slow Western movie with no violence in the middle of the pandemic?
I know, right. Like we're at what kind of tail end of the pandemic there? Because it's like movies that come out in 19, and then for like, did Oscars even happen? Oscars didn't happen in March. No, February, March. Oh, the Oscars did happen, huh? They happened right.
They happened later. They happened later, though. Yeah.
Right.
Like
Anyways.
they were like May or something that year.
But you want to hear indie? I mean, this movie did fine for itself, but listen to these indie numbers. Like I love it. It's like they it was, oh no, they actually did really bad. Never mind. I mixed up the numbers. But it was $5 million to produce, and then it only made 100, or it only made 1.3 million.
It's all right.
So
Kelly Reichardt, I feel, and I know A24 is much more like they make their money. I mean, they won the Oscar last year for Everything Everywhere, but also it's like they're doing it right, because it's like they find movies that are smaller budget, because movies don't need to be $100 million. You know, we've been saying this forever. Like, the maximum budget of a movie should be like $50 million tops.
Well, and we've been talking about this. I mean, yeah, sure. Don't even get me started on that. But I'm more like clearly a movie gets made and the investment is going to be recouped. So that's that. So I don't think there should be a cap per se. I mean, that's a whole other thing. But I know what you're saying. It's like the fact that a movie they just keep getting more and more expensive, but yet they recruit just as much. So it's kind of bonkers to me. But I really feel like we lost, and I understand DVD sales, they don't exist anymore. There's no home video. So there's no way that, like, a film studio, they always make their money back, guaranteed. But that means they take it from everybody else who doesn't get a piece of the pie until that movie becomes profitable outside of theaters.
Yeah, residuals is not like a thing anymore, really, because it's
exist.
like in the streaming age, you know.
Yeah, streaming kills it, and streaming is so like shady with their fucking numbers, and they don't pay out residuals. So it's just like it's kind of a dismal time for right now, and that is why we don't have mid-budget films anymore. So we get these kind of like quote unquote micro budgets that exist, that like small, like Orion and like, you know,
$5 million is pretty respectable for how good this movie looks, because it's like it does feel like they just dude, like took a fucking wagon and built a fort in Oregon using like everything real. You know what I mean?
Dude, Airy, dude. It was an Airy Alexa Mini, man.
And
Those
it
things
looks
are just, they're so powerful.
so
but it's how
good.
you use them. It's lighting too, dude. The lighting in this is top notch. Like I seriously like every time they would go inside and it was like dark but kind of yellow and dusty
so
and
good.
it worked so well, but it wasn't like overly color corrected. It wasn't like it wasn't like going for like an Oh Brother Where Art Thou tinge or anything to it, It just was like just kind of felt so natural. Which was probably a lot of natural light.
God, I can't get over it. I can't get over this movie. You reminded me for some reason. It's like when they first come back and Cookie just starts sweeping, and then he just brings in those flowers, and he just like puts them in the pot, and then he's just like, it's looking nicer already. Like,
well, it's so funny because it's weird. It's
such a
done,
small
it's
detail.
Like, men do this. This is thing. It's so weird. I'm like, I live in such like a we have to fixate on like masculinity so much, like in just culture today. And film in general, just it's dominated by men, and that's just the world it lives in. And so when you see somebody do something, quote unquote, tender or effeminate, that's how come I made the joke where it's like, oh, it's gay coded, because they totally feel but they do have. I mean, I have more examples of them like making eye contact and glances, and I just feel like there is a romantic relationship underneath it too. But that's just that's me. But anyways. It's something that
even them in their graves. I thought they were going to be lovers. Because their graves even together.
Their graves give it away, and I think that's probably the main reason I kept that mentality. Anytime they had a longing glance.
Yeah, I see your point, because there is, and it's not even necessarily sexual so much as it's an intimacy.
Yeah. Intimacy, right?
That even if it's it can be a romantic or platonic, but it's just when we talk about masculinity. It's men can't be fucking sincere with each other ever. And these are just two guys just being themselves and being, sincere and open. But I don't know. It's I don't know.
It's so helpful and domestic when he does that, when he speaks
it's so
brings
nice.
it in, and it's just I know they're providing for each other, and it made me feel good.
It is. It warms my heart. It warms my cold, callous heart.
I know, right? For once, I'm feeling something.
But anyway, I'm really looking forward to. I hope Reichardt keeps making these types of movies and period pieces specifically, because I feel
totally. Dude,
she does it. She does it so fucking good that it's just I've never seen Wendy and Lucy, but I'm aware of it, and I want to see it now because I'm really liking her stuff. But it's I want her to keep making pioneer movies. It's
Wendy and Lucy is tragic though. That's where this has some hopefulness into it. Wendy and Lucy has there's no hope. It kind of feels like Red Rocket, where that you just you kind of feel bad for them the whole time.
Red Rocket's like that too, where it's just you can forget how fucking dark everything is because there's so much charm and charisma on screen in front of you. That if you're not paying attention to actually the content, Red Rocket's so good. Sean Baker, I feel does the same thing actually, but in a modern setting.
Yeah.
Fucking Sean Baker's great. Anyway, so
I hope she keeps making period pieces, and maybe even coming up. I don't know, everything she does is it's weird. They're period pieces, but then they're just they're even more niche and granular.
They are. This is definitely a Western, and it's you can even go anti-Western or whatever, but it's definitely it's a pioneer movie. It's definitely
I call
about
it frontier.
the frontier.
It's a frontier film for sure.
Sure, and that makes sense, because honestly, she could stretch that dollar so much more with it, because it's so reliant upon nature. Same with Meek's Cutoff, you know what I mean? It's just it's so reliant upon that being your setting. It's even though I'd love to see her do a fucking scrappy con man in the 20s or something, financially it'd be a lot harder, especially if her monies aren't. Because it's like I said earlier, A24 is about the brand recognition and about the clout of giving artists a space to be able to do these type of things. Beau is Afraid didn't make any fucking money either, but it's a fucking weird movie that they give the chance for these artists to make these opportunities. And so it's just this movie, First Cow, it's got like a 4.5 on Letterboxd or something. Like, it's highly regarded critically, even if not financially. So she'll get money, but that's the thing. $5 million is worth it, and it's like if you can stretch $5 million and make this kind of movie, then fuck
and
those
$100
$100 million.
It's crazy. Well, that's the whole thing. $5 million is literally in the realm. A24 is $1 billion company, dude. They're not hurting.
No, they're not little
like,
scrappy indie anymore. They're huge.
They're
now.
not.
But
and
they're
that's how come
smart
it's like $5
about
million,
their
it's like
choices.
nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Well, they keep that. You keep that like hipster facade, and then you're just there. You're in it, baby. I'm sold.
This movie is sort of hipster though, but like in the best way.
Right, and like in such a like OG way too, if you want to get hipster.
Exactly.
And I love the tenderness, dude. God, can we just get tender for 1 minute? Like, I don't know, man. We don't need to grab each other's hands and be like, ooh yeah, ooh rah. We can just be like,
it's the masculine,
flowers.
like we can't. You and I, we can't talk about. We've known each other for how long, and it's like we can't talk about our fucking feelings to each other because of society.
We do all the time. I'm always like, hey, my feelings. I just don't have feelings, so I got nothing to tell you.
Mine's just about like I'm feeling a pain in my body. Like,
I know. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Anyway, so I got one Reddit, believe it or not.
Ooh.
From our best friend, Clones Are People Too. He says, I was really interested to see this as it's directed by a woman and Westerns feel so male-dominated. But the film still caught me off guard, first with the aspect ratio and then with the pace, and both of these made this a very intimate film, which is not what I'm expecting from a Western. The film felt very authentic with a really nice depth to the characters, the story, and the small slice of the frontier, and it felt so different from the Wild West I'm used to. The world was so well created, from the forest foraging to the costumes of the traders, and the overall vibe was so relaxing and so homely. Overall, very good, maybe a bit too purist and slow for most audiences, but I think I'll revisit this sometime. 8 out of 10. Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm definitely gonna add this to a rewatch. This is probably one of my favorite movies I've watched in a while. It really clicked for me. So yeah, thank you for commenting, because it is. I think for a lot of people that will be the biggest turnoff is that it's slow and quote unquote like artsy fartsy. Like if I was gonna recommend it to someone,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I'd be like, I wouldn't recommend this to a lot of people, even though I think everyone should see it. But
That is true.
I
guess,
feel like
yeah,
a lot
the
of
more I
people
think
would
about
not
it.
get it in this day and age. It's like, because I'm amazed with the movie this slow though. Like I wasn't on my phone like once.
No.
I was
totally engaged.
enthralled the entire time, because it's like, in this, I feel like that's exactly what my brain needed, and I think that added to why I like this so much. It's like, in this day, our fucking ADHD is just like everything. It's like I'm playing video games, and then I do that, and then this, that, then the other, and there's like a million distractions, and I'm like everything. It's like this movie just kind of taking the time, and it's just, I felt like it looked at me at the opening credits and was like, let's just take a breath, dude. Like, let's just breathe.
Yeah.
Let's just breathe, you know what I mean? And it's just like the hook of the skeletons is perfect.
That really made me like,
Perfect.
Just
It's
I
like,
was
oh, I'm in.
I was like, you have my I was like, you have my attention.
Yeah,
now.
I'm in, yeah.
Where are we gonna go? When are we gonna meet our skeletons? And then when we it's so, that's what's so good about this movie is like it doesn't hold your hand at all. Like you have these two characters and you're like, oh, that, like it's kind of, it's like I knew who they are, and I'm here for them. I'm along for the ride, guys.
Yeah.
Take me with you.
You got anything else to say?
No, I mean I loved those. I mean we don't really do our favorite scene anymore.
What is it? Yeah,
but
we
I
should
think-
though. It's just because we forget.
I know we forget. Yeah, we're bad. But we're so bad.
I'm a bad
think-
boy.
My favorite scene. God, that is tricky. I think there's so many good parts, and it's so, God, everything's so heartbreaking. I think when he talks to the cow though, that's my favorite. Every time he gets there, there's so much, like, even the cow has a fucking beautiful tragic backstory where she lost her husband and her wife, or her husband and her kid.
Well, that's
on
why
her
he
trip-
he
on
relates
her
to her
trip
too,
down.
because they're like alone through loss, and
Right,
like over
right.
time they've just like alone in the world. Like I was hoping they would just steal the cow and they'd all run off together.
Me too.
Like-
The whole time I was like, well, no, and because in the trailer, I swear he's with the cow more often in the trailer than in the movie, and so I
The
kept
ratio
thinking-
certainly is. There's
I
definitely
thought-
the ratio to cow in the trailer is more because
I know.
the movie with
really
first
thought-
cow in the title, you know.
Yeah, right. But I think him with the cow is beautiful, and it's such an arc because the cow comes across on a barge. That's what, like you said, like how we move cargo with ships nowadays is like we're moving like, it's like 50 million metric tons of, cargo a day, and it's just like the cow comes across on water, and then the cow is trapped, dude. The last scene of the cow, it's behind a fence.
That
but it's being,
tiny
quote,
little
unquote,
fence,
quote,
too.
quote unquote protected. I know, right? It had all the freedom it wanted, and then now it's just like trapped there, and it's so heartbreaking, man. But
brutal.
like, it's such like a subtle way. There's no, I mean, this is what's great. This movie is like all subtext.
That's the American. I mean, the American dream too. It's like those guys like arguing about like the longevity of like exploiting the land. You know what I mean? It's
right.
like
I know,
there
right.
is
The noble.
like this is so not only because it's like I think this movie is gonna get claimed mostly for how well it looks and how well it like technically it's edited, but it's just like the writing is also
I think
fucking
you're right.
on
This could be
fucking point.
This could be on VHS with like really muddled colors, and that wouldn't change. It's like the writing and the pacing is beautiful. Like it does look technically amazing. So like I love that. I know. And then another little side note. I loved when the trappers fight over the biscuits when they're like I'll get one more of that, and they're like, how much you buy? And they like kind of do like a bidding war to get the last one.
Oh, I don't know why I thought of this, but another random scene I went back and watched because I was like, that's the one thing in the movie I don't get. So I went back and watched when he got his new boots, and I'm pretty sure the guy, because it's like they made a big deal out of it for a minute because he got these new
'Cause
boots.
He sold them from a dead man.
Yeah, I didn't get that right away, so I had to go back and watch that. But
oh.
that's another sense because the guy's got like the two hats, and he doesn't.
Yeah.
Like Cookie doesn't really realize it, and he's wearing these boots. And he's like, "Fuck yeah, new boots!" And then the one guy, two people in town call him out, and he like covers the shame of being like, "Oh well, I was just happy about my fancy new boots," and they're like,
Right.
"They're like those are John LaJoy's boots," or
And it's like the fact too that like it's such a that's what's so crazy is like we historically we think that like it was cutthroat and people lived off the land, and it was like you'd shoot a man dead for his boots, but it's like it wasn't like that. Like there was a lot more like humanity and intimacy and like humility and I mean people were in a different mentality. Sure, there was like a different like relationship with people and like property, but like there still was just like kind of like, hey, that's not right. There still was like a moral compass that existed around it, but yet you did have more freedom to like kind of live wherever you wanted to in these kind of
well,
to an
this
extent.
I think
mean,
this
as
is
long as you weren't like a minority, but
why we're exactly. Well, it's like
yeah.
I think that's like a lot of why we're pulled to Western specifically in like this genre is because it's like the Wild West being the last frontier rings true. It's like that's the last time in modern history where it's like people, like obviously on a bigger scale, we were just as a country just committing genocide and stealing land and all this.
Right.
But for this regular dudes like these guys, like King Lou says, we got here before history this time. Like this is a land it's all new and it's all fresh, and it's like we're drawn to this weird like that's the most modern time in history because this was only like less than 200 years ago that it's just like that's new. That is new in the history of our civilization, in the history of our earth, obviously. That it's just like we're drawn to like exploring and surviving and our connection to the land before. That's why I kind of feel like the opening is kind of heartbreaking, the freighter ship, because it's like it's so mundane and it's like muted even. Like everything in there, it's like everything's dead and muted. And it's not even like, oh, look how shitty things are now, but it's like, look how for granted we take everything. Like everyone sat and watched with awe later in the movie when they bring the cow across the river. The Native American like family that's like sitting there watching, like everyone's like watching and enthralled by it. And yet this girl at the beginning doesn't even look once at this freighter ship. You know what I mean?
What's become so routine in society. It is like, I mean, that's why this movie is
Well,
good.
on the
Like, it
land
gave
too.
you
It's
a
just
refresh.
like, it's good. So anyway, this movie inspired. It's great. Go watch it. But I want more movies that have like this feel. So that's why for this next month for December, and this will give us an opportunity to do maybe some Christmas movies too, which is always what we try to do, kind of, because we're gonna be watching them anyway. I'll find a way to kind of incorporate them. We're going to do like cozy movies. I'm looking for like cozy, chill vibes, something that's like it's snowy outside. You put your socks on. And so we'll see what we get. It is kind of a vague category. And also, I have to put movies I haven't seen on there, so I can't speak to every movie being, it's obviously sort of subjective what is and what isn't cozy. But go tell us what you think we should.
Tell us. Yeah. If you're like, this isn't cozy, I feel just get cold and arid in this movie.
What is cozy? What's chill? Like these kind of like that are more about like these like intimate type situations. So the movie we're watching, the first movie for cozy winter December, we're watching is A Portrait of a Lady on Fire, which I've not seen. So let's see if it's fucking cozy. Jordan's seen it and he hates it, so we'll see.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't in the mood, so
Well,
we'll see.
We'll
I'm
see.
excited to rewatch it.
I'm
That's
hoping,
why,
I'm
here.
wanting slower. Like normally, this movie put me in the mood for like, maybe I am in the mood for like a little bit slower paced, a little bit more like something that I can kind of just like get into and feel just kind of, so.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, you're for slow mo, baby. I like it.
Anyway, that's it. That's all I got for you.
Oh yeah, that's me, man. I'm
Thanks for listening. Thanks to the few Patreons we have. You guys are great.
You guys rule, dude. Things are coming. I'm off tomorrow, and I'm gonna I want to go through, and I want to spruce up the Patreon, give people some new things to sink their teeth into.
Yeah.
So
they like it.
Stay tuned.
I get they mention the Sticker of the Month Club often about how they like the stickers so much.
I know, baby. Stickers are coming.
Well, the Sticker Club anyway.
I know it's Sticker Club. I kind of like Sticker of the Month. You know, you guys.
It's a month.
You know who you're dealing with. I think it should just be like, I've sent you 12.
I know, right? Anyway, thanks for listening. If you made it this far, you're great. Appreciate you. Go on the Reddit, vote, tell us what movies we should watch.
That's where we get our most interactions, and we love it. We love to hear from you guys.
Yeah.
So
cool.
r/coldest of knowledge.
Do it.
Perfect.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay. Good night.